Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The end is coming, Donald. Even Mike Pence knows. He's backing away from your train wreck, from your desperate lies and clown lawyers. When Mike Pence is running away from you, you know it's over. Trying to save his reputation, protect his future. Oh, there's one last thing, Donald. On January 6th, Mike Pence will put the nail in your political coffin when he presides over the Senate vote to prove Joe Biden won. It's over. And Mike Pence knows it.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Okay, so that's the good news. That's about it. This is the last show for the Randi Rhodes Show and Team Randi for 2020. Bye-bye, 2020. Bye-bye. See ya. Don't let the door hit ya where the good Lord split ya. Bye-bye. Oh, God, I have waited to say that for a year. If we... All right, I'll just speak for if I have ever lived through a worse year than this one, I drowned my sorrow so completely that I don't remember it. This year just blows. It's so... The last time I think things were this bad in the universe, they blamed it on witches. Or Jews. I don't know. You pick. Both. Yeah. I mean, this year does not belong in the 21st century. This year belongs somewhere in the 14th century. Do you know, I mean, like, all that's missing is ox carts for your dead. Bring out your dead. I mean, at least we have refrigeration, right? So you have to take your joy where you can find it. I mean, everything that could go wrong in a medieval year went wrong this year, except for perhaps a barbarous invasion. But we ain't seen the end of 2020 yet. And, the beginning of 2021 does not look like it's going to start off well. It looks like it's going to start off with some sort of a show or a unfortunate episode in the House of Representatives, in the Senate. Do you know what I mean? So could we just... 2021 is going to start off with January 6th. January 6th is going to be like a coup attempt in this here country. It is. It's going to be like that. You're going to have psychos in the House voting to overturn the results of 6 states now. Now we know. 6 states' slates of electors are going to be challenged by the representatives in the House, the crazy ones, the Matt Getzes, the Mo Brooks, the Biggs, Andy Biggs. I mean, these people are really going to object. And we don't know yet if Tommy Tuberville is going to use his very first act as not a football coach, but now a United States Senator, to challenge in writing the results of our election and participate in a coup attempt. I mean, it can't succeed from what I'm reading, about what Mitch McConnell is instructing, his senators to do and not do. But it's going to start off, like with a coup attempt. So I don't know if years are transmissible from one to the other. I don't know. And I always thought, like the year end was some sort of a fake, arbitrary, turn of the page that doesn't really matter worth a whit. You know what I mean? So here's what I'm proposing. Ready? Let's just skip over the whole decade. Want to? I do. Let's just skip over all of the 20s. Let's just skip right over the 20s. Let's just start in 2030. so we can put some immediate distance between us and 2020. Now think about this, okay? If we did that, if we skipped those 10 years, you would be 10 years older, but you'd look the same as you did 10 years ago. I would then be eligible for Social Security, Medicare, etc., okay, and still be looking like this, which is okay, considering that I would be eligible for, retirement benefits. I mean, and then the calendar carnage would stop. Do you know what I'm saying? It would just, it would end. So we have the power, I believe, if we all think it, and take psilocybin, to make it 2030, 12-year-olds could drink. You see what I mean? It could be fun, right? It would be, and Donald Trump would be a very, very distant memory. I mean, unless he lives to be, 84, 85, he would be okay, we really can't do that. But can I pitch that to Netflix? Do you think maybe? And then I could be like, by the time they make it, it would be 2030 anyway, and then maybe I would have some income. I mean, this year was so bad. Do you remember how it started off? Does anybody remember how it started off? It started off with wildfires in the Amazon basin. Remember that? Everybody was wigging out. It started off with fires in the Amazon basin. It started off with bushfires in Australia. And you saw all these animals, like really cute ones, because they have the good ones. They have the kangaroos, they have the koalas, they have really cute ones, right? And you saw them being rescued. Then California followed. We heard like a little bit of a rumor about a place we never thought about or couldn't point to on a map or any, and probably, Trumpers still can't, the death cult probably still, but we started to hear a little something about a place called Wuhan, just a little bit about a place called Wuhan somewhere in China. On January 2nd of 2020, at the very beginning of the year, Donald Trump decided he would start off with an assassination, an execution, basically. And he killed this guy Soleimani from Iran, and we thought we were going to go to war with Iran. Remember that? And then instead of going to war with Iran, we decided to impeach Donald Trump, right? So that's when that all started. And at the same time, we were in the middle of an embarrassment of riches from the Democratic primaries. We had some of the most amazing candidates that we'd ever seen before. We had old stalwarts, we had Bernie, we had Elizabeth Warren, and then we had some new people whose names we couldn't pronounce. Like, I always knew, Kamala, but I was still mispronouncing her name back then. Right? But does everybody remember being introduced to Tom Steyer? Does everybody remember being introduced to Mayor Pete Buttigieg? Yeah, and it was like so cool because we had all this hope and all of these great people, and they were, able to lay out the vision that we had all hoped, to have if we would have elected Al Gore back in 2000. We started talking about climate change, and we started talking about the Amazon fires and the California fires and the fires in Australia and all this stuff. And, there was like a meaningful debate about things we care about, income inequality and $15 an hour minimum wage. And, we were drilling down on and then we just started to notice that unarmed black men were continually getting killed. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And then Kobe Bryant and his little daughter Gianna died in a helicopter crash with 7 others. And then it was February. I mean, that's how the year started up. An assassination, Kobe Bryant died with 7 others and his little daughter Gianna. The primaries had just begun. We heard of a little place called Wuhan, and we were talking about climate change and wildfires. I mean, we hadn't even gotten to the Academy Awards yet. Yeah, this was a bizarro year. Really, really, really sucked.
A things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Right now, chaos is swirling around President Trump in the final 30 days of this White House.
There are reports that President Trump asked his advisors about declaring martial law and using the military to overturn the election that he lost and possibly seizing voting machines.
Let that sink in. They talked about martial law inside the Oval Office.
At that meeting was Mike Flynn, the recently pardoned former national security advisor who's been talking publicly about having President Trump impose martial law to do essentially a rerun of the election.
He could take military capabilities and he could place them in those states and basically rerun an election in each of those states.
The president floated appointing Sidney Powell, a controversial lawyer who has advanced baseless conspiracy theories about the election, as special counsel.
President Trump is refuting that and called it bad reporting. But
just last night, Powell was spotted back at the White House pitching an executive order on seizing voting machines, causing alarm even among some of Trump's most loyal allies about what he might do in the next 30 days.
We have had many fire alarms over 4 years, and I think, frankly, people have become numb to what they hear about this president doing. This meeting was different. This was a wild moment.
We're in a wild moment, everybody, and I can't wait for this wild year to be over. I'm telling you, you don't even realize what we've all been through until you make a list, which is, I always make timelines. That's what I do to try and figure out difficult crimes, to figure out difficult, situation. You make a timeline, and that way you could, walk yourself through it. I'm telling you, we weren't even into February when we'd already impeached the president. And the Senate refused to even call one witness. Do you remember that? The Senate refused to even call one witness. They wouldn't have a trial for this man. But hey, Parasite won Best Picture. You remember that? South Korea, Parasite? That was a great movie. Did you watch it? Yeah, Brett loved it.
I loved that movie. That was really,
too.
really good. Underrated, and it was even rated well going in. It was still underrated. Really good movie.
Well, we're all going to be living like that in flooded basements very soon, very soon. It's about being poor in South Korea. And the living by your wits, which is what Republicans think they're good at. Well, I'll live by my... And then Ahmaud Arbery went for a jog. That was February, too. Can you believe that? And then Ahmaud Arbery went for a job, and he was, assassinated. Yeah, he was. And we started to notice that there was a recession in manufacturing and that the economy was not doing well. Donald Trump was still lying about it and saying that plants were going to open and don't sell your house and blah, 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 and this and that. And then on February 28th, believe it or not, see, the COVID thing started really on my birthday. January 28th. But we weren't really sure about it yet. February 28th, we were sure. That's when America had its very first death from COVID. Can you believe that? February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 10 months of listening to this president call this a hoax and suggest that you inject bleach. Okay, in March, we were down to pretty much two candidates for the Democratic nomination. It was down to Biden and Sanders. March 11th, the World Health Organization said, COVID is a global pandemic. That's when we really knew. We had 30 cases inside the United States. 30 cases is what we had. In 7 measly states, and the president just couldn't figure out what to do. He couldn't. He just knew that if he started testing people and contact tracing people, even though we only had 30 people to do, that the numbers would go up, and that wasn't going to be good for him because the economy was already in trouble, and he knew it. So he lied about both things. California and New York, March 19th and 22nd, had to issue stay-at-home orders. And then March 13th was the day that Breonna Taylor was murdered in her house. By April 2nd, there were 1 million cases of COVID worldwide. 1 week later, there were 2 million cases of COVID worldwide. There were protests in Lansing, Michigan, where armed protesters went to the state capitol to threaten Gretchen Whitmer. 20 million jobs were lost. Oh, I'm sorry, furloughed. Oh, F a bunch of furlough. 20 million. And by then, the United States had lost 100,000 lives. George Floyd appeared on all of our television screens with Derek Chauvin's knee on his neck while he could not breathe for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And Donald Trump decided this would be a good time to pull out of the World Health Organization. By June, we had Black Lives Matter's protests. Donald Trump built a fence around the White House. You got to see your police in action when 75-year-old Martin Gugino was pushed to the ground. That old man was pushed to the ground, slammed his head against the pavement, and was bleeding from the head. And Donald Trump decided to call that man Antifa. He then ordered Bill Barr to put together an unmarked army of thugs to clear Lafayette Square, where Black Lives Matter was protesting peacefully, so he could make his way across the square to hoist a Bible in his hand in front of a church that he swore was burned down, but was still there standing. And we noticed Ivanka had like a $5,000 purse holding that Bible, which is exactly how Jesus would have carried it, in a $5,000 purse. He also then hired Louis DeJoy to head up the United States Postal Service ahead of the election. In July, Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested. She remains in prison, thank God. And Roger Stone, instead of going to jail to do his 40-month jury-awarded sentence, had his sentence commuted. In August, Joe Biden was our nominee, and he picked Kamala to be his vice presidential candidate. Louis DeJoy got busy and removed 700 letter sorting machines from various postal offices around this country. Steve Bannon was arrested on a Chinese billionaire's yacht for fraud, for bilking Trump supporters out of $1 million in a fraudulent effort called We Build the Wall. He was then indicted, and Jacob Blake, 29 years old, was shot 7 times in the back by police officers in Kenosha. Protests ensued.
Clear. Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Oh, God. So last August, you may be recalling now that a guy named Jacob Blake tried to break up a fight on the street in Kenosha, and he was shot in the back 7 times. Now, he wasn't killed. He was only paralyzed. Remember that? Yes. And then a bunch of protests broke out, and Kyle Rittenhouse there's a young kid who thinks he's some sort of a deputy or a security Proud Boy. I don't know. He decides he's going to fire into the crowd, and he kills 2 people and wounds 1. There, our problem is solved. Yeah. In September, Dijon Kizzee was shot by sheriffs in L.A., and Daniel Prude, who was having a break with reality, he was having some sort of an episode of mental illness, was out in the street in the freezing cold. I mean, it was cold, right? And he was naked out in the street. His family called for help, and he wound up with something called a spit hood on his head. and died. Donald Trump's reaction? Go to North Carolina and tell them to vote twice. And that's what he did. And then we got Bob Woodward's tapes. And that's when we knew that Donald Trump was literally involved in something really, really disgusting, like depraved heart murder. Because he tells Bob Woodward that he knew this was deadly. He tells Bob Woodward that he wanted to downplay it. He tells Bob Woodward that if it gets the wrong person, they're dead. He tells Bob Woodward he knows this isn't the flu. He tells Bob Woodward this is much more contagious and much more deadly. So now we know that Donald Trump is indeed a liar, and it's only, September. So that should have been sort of the October surprise. That should have been enough for the cult members to say, holy crap, he's really killing us. Holy crap, this man really believes we all need to get it and die. But it isn't. Then we find out Donald Trump, thanks to the New York Times, we find out that Donald Trump paid a whopping $750 in taxes over the last 2 years. And then Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies. And they haven't even come there with the ox cart to bring out her dead body when the name Amy Coney Barrett starts to appear. And we now know that we're going to have a religious cult member on the Supreme Court. October, we have the presidential debates. Donald Trump, is treating it like a reality TV show because he's completely unprepared. Completely unprepared. And Joe Biden just looks at him and says, "You are the worst president ever." If I might say, I believe that's when Joe Biden won this election. Now we find out Melania and Barron Trump have COVID, and so does Hope Hicks and Mike Lee and Kayleigh McEnany and Steve Miller and Kellyanne Conway. And shortly after that, Donald Trump goes to Walter Reed, where he gets monoclonal antibody treatment, a treatment that is not available for all us poor saps that are in the hospital and ICU wards, right? And he just bounces back, man. He's like, goes to the White House, walks up the stairs like it's a reality TV show and he's the Bachelor, and takes off his mask. But not before he gets in a car and goes for a joyride with Secret Service protection while he's still contagious and infected. Prompting everyone to say, I know that the Secret Service is supposed to take a bullet for him, but I didn't know they were supposed to take a bullet from him. Mike Pence and Kamala Harris debate. It goes okay. NBC actually decides they're going to test the Postal Service ahead of the election. They're going to mail out 750,000 letters or 75,000 letters, I forget, and they're going to mail them out and they're going to see if they're on time. And guess what? NBC exposes the Postal Service as being not on time. Not on time. And Louis DeJoy now has to reverse himself and he has to prioritize mail-in ballots. Now Trump wants Amy Coney Barrett confirmed now, because he says he's going to need the Supreme Court to win this election. He's going to need her. He's going to need her, he's going to need Kavanaugh, and he's going to need Gorsuch. So you better get her on the Supreme Court. November 3rd, Donald Trump loses by 7 million votes. 8 million Americans have now been literally sucked into poverty. And Donald Trump says this is a good time to file 50 lawsuits and block the transition from my administration to Biden's because I will not recognize that Biden won. 50 lawsuits. We can't have a transition because there's a girl named Emily Murphy at the General Services Administration who will not ascertain, remember that word? will not ascertain that Joe Biden is the winner. And by this point, daily deaths in the United States are over 2,000 a day. Now it's December, and by December, Emily Murphy caves. Emily Murphy is completely aware that all of these lawsuits are failing, have failed, will fail. The Supreme Court says, get the hell out of here. Cases are over 200,000 a day, new cases. Deaths are over 3,000 a day. And finally, the transition can begin. And then we find out that Russia just conducted a massive cyber hack that has been going on since March. Since March. And Donald Trump tweets that it's fake news and it was really China. And today, the last day for Team Randi, is the deadliest day in the history of the United States, with deaths expected to top 3 million for the first time. They passed a $900 billion stimulus package, of which people making less than $75,000 a year will get a whopping $600 for all of this. For all of this. Lines are miles long to get boxes of food. And we find out there's a variant of this virus now in the UK that is 70% more contagious. Hey, they say it's not more deadly, though. So what's the worry? What's the big deal? You want to know why I want to skip ahead to 2030? This is why I want to make it a distant, distant memory. This awful, awful year.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
As we wrap up this year and head into the next, we invite you to give a big you to 2020.
But not just any you, a you for a cause. Let's start with a giant you, COVID-19.
Thank you for taking my job. Sorry, furloughing my job.
Furloughing? You.
You for closing his school.
Yeah, you.
You for canceling our wedding. You to the toilet paper hoarders.
You to all the people in 2020 who said all lives matter.
All lives will matter when Black lives matter.
You, Derek Chauvin.
And a double you to the killers of Breonna Taylor.
Arrest those Speaking of murderers, murder hornets.
Murder what?
Murder hornets!
That's a thing?
I've had it with these motherfucking Zoom calls on this
Peter, New Zealand. You think you're better than us? Well, you are, but you anyway.
I don't care who you voted for. This guy.
You, Karen.
You, Karen.
You, Karen.
2020.
You.
You for taking RBG.
And Kobe. And John Lewis.
You for taking my grandmother. 2020. You!
When there's cursing on this show, you know it's bad. You know it's bad.
That little kid was pretty comfortable dropping that F-bomb, wasn't he?
Yeah. They closed his school. For God's sake, for the love of Pete. Heavens to Murgatroyd. Oh, I'm so glad. And I know this is just, it's just a fantastical fantasy that, when 2020, when the calendar ends, and I start with a new rooster calendar, and I always do a rooster, always, and Jessica always buys it for me. Every year I have a rooster. I'm old school. I'm old school. Yes, people put themselves on my Outlook calendar for calls. But for the most part, I get up in the morning and I, go down to the kitchen. I get myself a cup of coffee and I look at the rooster calendar and I see what's on the rooster calendar. And that's how I know what I have to do. And I know that when I take this year's Rooster calendar down and put up the new one that she's already sent me, Jessica did, that nothing's going to be any different. And I hate to say it because, and I have to, because January 6th, we're going to actually experience an attempted coup. What could be more fun? Seriously, that is why I am so anxious. I mean, I would just freaking love to put 10 years between us and last year. If at all possible. I mean, this is, we found out this year that we are terribly undemocratic, okay? We have a democracy that is so, I mean, you have minority votes choosing everything from House members to the president, okay? Minority votes, it's just so unbelievable. We have a Senate that gives the same amount of power to Wyoming as it does to California and New York. We have a Senate that counts equally South Dakota and North Dakota. Why do we have 2 Dakotas? That's wrong. But they count them as 2 senators. You know, they get 4 senators between the same thing. I mean, and New York only gets 2, and California only gets 2, and Washington State only gets 2. But North Dakota and South Dakota, which should be 1 state, just trust me, they get 4. Democrats have won the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections, and this time we could actually say, okay, we won. It took 7 million more votes. It took, what did he get? 80-something million votes? It took that many to show up to get a president that wasn't voted in by the minority. That's how, I mean, it. And you know, the party of the Democrats, whether you are a party person or not, and I say our because, you know, I'm basically a independent that would vote Democratic. I would caucus with them, okay, if that's how I had to be. But our issues are more popular than the Republicans' issues. Their issues are nothing but tax cuts for the wealthy, subsidies for corporations, offshoring loopholes in the tax law. Do you know what I mean? And what happens is we end up with paralysis. And that's perfectly fine with the Republicans. Doing nothing is an actual agenda item for them. And that makes our voters more and more cynical. And the more cynical they get, the more frustrated they get. The more frustrated they get, the more angry they get. And so, because if your party can't deliver, whichever party, if your party can't deliver when it wins, then the only motivation left is to despise the other party. In our system of government, we also learned this year, and we've learned over the last 4 years, actually, that accountability is a cruel joke. When you have the president dead to rights, making deals by withholding defense money from an ally in exchange for dirt on your political opponent recorded on a phone call, and the Senate of the United States decides, we're not calling one witness, we're not having a trial, we're not interested in it. When you have the most incompetent president in living history, and the Senate says, that's just fine, we're just going to be quiet over here and, enjoy our, 3 martini lunch. You know what? These 3 martini lunches that were in this stimulus package, think about it this way. Do you know how much it costs to go out to a really, really nice dinner in Washington with business associates? So now you're talking at least dinner for 4, right? Because you're going to bring your wife, and then your associate's going to bring whoever you're wanting into. You know that bill could be $600. 100% of that is deductible. So if I do that, twice a week, I'm getting more stimulus money than a guy who's on lockdown in Iowa. You see what I mean? It is so broken, and there is no accountability at all. And the selfishness that we saw in this country this year, I think that's the thing that really upsets me. No, I think the hacking away at democracy, really upset me. But the selfishness in this country, simple public health measures like, I couldn't believe that I had to tell people this year to wash their hands. But I did. I mean, I really did. I had to have like little commercials in the show reminding people to wash their freaking hands. People won't wear a simple surgical mask or a fun one with, I don't know, put Wonder Woman 1984 on your mask for all I care. I got fun ones. I got all kinds of fun ones. I got nasty ones. I got fun ones. I got cute ones. I got Day of the Dead ones. I got, all kinds of, why not? Wearing a mask is a terrible imposition for you. You can't make one little change in your day, not even one tiny little change in your day. No, that makes you weak. That is just, no quantity of dead Americans was going to move people into wearing masks. They just had, down here in Palm Beach, they just had a super spreader event with Charlie Kirk's stupid group, Turning Point USA. They had all these kids, all these teenagers, in a ballroom that exceeded the capacity of the ballroom, and they're banging on the door to let us in, let us in, let us in. It was the sickest thing I ever saw. There they are. That's my neighborhood right there, okay? Let us, no one's wearing a mask. No one could do it. No one could make the small little adjustment to keep a wildly contagious disease in check. No, they couldn't do it. And once they got in there, you know what they were doing? They had money cannons. I swear to God, it's like some sick, twisted scene from some super bad Mad Max movie.
Folks, we're trying to get that thing rolling.
Look at this. They're shooting money at these people.
All right.
Little blonde girls in spandex pants.
Let's go. Put some money in there and let's go.
This is just ridiculous. It's just so sad. And the selfishness that's on display, I don't know. And of course, social media this year drove our society insane. It drove America mad. It sparked all kinds of street-level violence, maybe right-wing terrorism, more gridlock, more instability. Wow.
Mary had a little lamb. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I've talked to somewhat a dozen officers or so, some in the Pentagon, some in other areas, and they all are expressing the same concern. The conversation is the same, and it goes something like this. We don't know what he might do. This is their commander-in-chief, and they are concerned. The concern is very clear, that the president might decide to use troops, the military, somehow in his effort to overturn the election. The immediate question, of course, would be, how is any of this legal? But setting legality aside, why are they so concerned? Well, Mike Flynn, the fired national security advisor, former three-star Army general, has now spoken publicly about using martial law, the prospect of it, and he has now met with the president. This is something that is getting quite noticed around military circles. And I want to take your attention to a very particular tweet from a very significant retired general. Retired General Tony Thomas headed Special Operations Command all special operations for many years. He knows Flynn well. And this is what he tweeted just a few days ago. Let me read it to everybody. General Thomas says, Mike, stop. Just stop. You're a former soldier. You know that leveraging the military to rerun elections is a totally inappropriate role for the profession. You are also undercutting the extraordinary trust and confidence America has in their military. Stop. Telling General Flynn, don't talk about using the military to rerun elections. That's the concern that the active duty has right now.
Wow. Wow. Just think about that. You have a president, and we haven't seen him in 9 days. Nobody's seen the president. He did call into that Turning Point USA little party that I played for you just now, where they're shooting money at teenagers, to try and get them to support Donald Trump's new efforts. Michael Cohen, who was interviewed by Vanity Fair, and Michael Cohen's prediction, I don't know what to say. Michael Cohen says he understands the narcissism that is Donald Trump. He understands what goes on in his head. And he thinks that Donald Trump is going to go for some sort of a Trump news network of counter-truth programming, like fake news, another network. That's just what, and that is why Donald Trump is fighting with Fox News. He's trying to peel off some of the Fox News viewers. He believes that since he got 74 million votes, that 20 million or so of those people are dumb enough, and these are Michael Cohen's words, they're stupid enough, they're dumb enough to actually watch on purpose, to be disinformed on purpose, the Trump News Network, and Donald Trump will charge these 20 million people $4.99 a month to be a subscriber to this disinformation channel that Donald Trump has visions of setting up. Michael Cohen points out that at $4.99 a month with 20 million viewers, it would give Donald Trump in excess of $1 billion a year of income. And he said that is what he wants from his loyal supporters, is actual support. He wants actual money. And he thinks that's what he's got in mind. I personally think Donald Trump is going to jail. But that's just me. That's just me. I mean, honestly, this man is in the White House, holed up for 9 days. White House officials say it's scary. No one knows where this is heading. The military, the uniformed military and the non-uniformed military are freaked out because they know that he's likely to issue some illegal order. They seem very sure that they will not follow this illegal order. General Mark Milley, I don't know if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, he said, we don't take an oath to a person. We don't take an oath to a king. We take an oath to the Constitution. And he sent that as a message to Donald Trump.
We do not take an oath to a king or a queen, a tyrant or a dictator. We do not take an oath to an individual. No, we do not take an oath to a country, a tribe, or a religion. We take an oath to the Constitution.
The Constitution, and in the latest development in all of this undercurrent of anxiety, the four-star general who heads the Army, the Chief of Staff, and the civilian head of the Army, the Secretary of the Army, actually, of course, a Trump appointee. Those two men, a couple of days ago, felt compelled to publicly say that the military has no role in election outcomes. This is the conversation at the Pentagon, some 30 days to go.
What I mean, really, this is. I mean, he is like the Sisyphus of erratic behavior. You remember Sisyphus? He kept pushing the rock up the hill. Kept pushing the rock. That was like his whole life. The rock up the hill. The rock up the. This man is doomed to spend eternity doing things that make you slap your forehead. That is what. I mean, he has been crazy since before he was president, right? The man has been crazy for a really, really long time. And what we're watching is him continuing to go crazy. It's like he's continually collapsing, and we have to, and it's all being played out. I mean, he thinks, I don't know, does he think it's like Richard III or King Lear? No, it's an Adam Sandler movie. I mean, it's just so sad. It's just, it's unbelievable. And so you have people like Chris Christie out there, Mark Milley out there, Adam Schiff out there. You know, all of them say, the Lieutenant Colonel Wilkerson from Colin Powell's chief of staff, he was out there saying, you know, hey, listen, General Flynn, he is disgraced. He needs to be court-martialed. I'm not kidding. People are actually starting to talk about some sort of accountability. But hey, this is America. Nobody's ever held accountable at that level. I think we know that. But Chris Christie said, we need to keep Michael Flynn and Sidney Powell out of the Oval Office. Can I just tell you something, Chris Christie? That won't help. You don't want to keep Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell out of the Oval Office. You want to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office. How do these big thinkers miss that point every time they're... I mean, you got them all holed up in there. You got Michael Flynn, you got Sidney Powell, you got Donald Trump, all holed up in the Oval Office, cooking up schemes to stay in power. It is a gathering of such craziness that Rudy Giuliani wasn't even invited. Couldn't you just wipe the foam from the sides of his mouth and, you know, bring him on in? The irony is that Trump has caused tens of thousands of Americans to lose their jobs and to needlessly die, and he's wigging out because he's losing his job. Well, welcome to the club. Be a man. But Donald Trump has this rare knowledge. Donald Trump knows Donald Trump is losing his job because of Donald Trump. 9 days he hasn't been in public. 9 days. He phoned into the Turning Point USA. He phoned it in. What does he need? The Proud Boys to have an event to entice him out? Does he need to be told that he needs to hold a Bible up one more time? I don't know what it is. I mean, and Michael Flynn is telling him, he's whispering in his ear, declare martial law, you know, do it in the swing states and redo the election. You know what? If we see this, if he uses martial law, God forbid, and redoes the election, he's still going to lose by 7 million votes, if not more. So what is this fantastical fantasy that they all have, that if they declared martial law and they reran it in the swing states, they're swing states, and now everybody knows this man is a lunatic, okay? He would still lose those swing states by 80,000 votes. I don't know. This is just... It's amazing. I've never seen this before. I thought I'd seen it all.
Clear. All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The crazy lawyer Sidney Powell was at the White House again late Monday afternoon. She was there Sunday night, and as you know, she was there last Friday. The other crazy lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, was also there Monday, though Giuliani afterwards disavowed Powell. And per Politico, spotted in the West Wing, Representative-elect Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, the racist QAnon lady, and Congressman Jim Jordan, Mo Brooks, Andy Biggs, Louis Gohmert, Scott Perry, and Matt Gaetz, or as they are collectively known, living proof of Dunning-Kruger syndrome. Which flavor of coup is this? The martial law coup, or the rerun the election coup, or the special Kraken Council coup, or the military takeover coup, or the Rudy isn't wearing pants coup? The only information we yet have is a New York Times report that on Sunday, this lunatic Sidney Powell was again demanding the White House seize all the voting machines, even as the Dominion and Smartmatic voting machine companies have so put the legal fear of God into the bullshit Newsmax and OAN and Fox networks that they made Lou Dobbs and Maria Bartiromo and the others read detailed retractions that looked like hostage videos. Regardless, no matter how much of this remains a Trump money scam, in his madness, Trump has come to believe he really won and is a martyr, and people as proactively stupid as Powell and Gaetz and the QAnon lady would not be hard to convince of this. Again, whatever Trump is planning, whatever Giuliani and Gates and Jordan and the other scum have signed on to, it is imperative that the president-elect make a statement that these meetings are seditious, that they constitute a conspiracy to overthrow the government, and that as of January 20th, the Justice Department will investigate and will prosecute them. Only fear works with bullies. It works well. Ask Lou Dobbs and Bartiromo and OAN. This is an attempted coup. It is treason. Trump, Brooks, Jordan, Powell, Giuliani, and the others must know that they have placed their careers, indeed their freedom from prison, at total risk. Enough.
Enough. I'm down with that prescription. But Biden was in public today, and he did not do that. He did not do that. He did not say that this president is involved in a coup. He did not say that Michael Flynn needs to be court-martialed. He did not say that Michael Flynn is either, a disgrace or a psychotic for calling on martial law to rerun an election in swing states. No, he did not. He did not say that, and I don't think he ever will. I don't think he ever will. But here you've got Keith Olbermann standing on his fabulous, what I can only guess is Park Avenue balcony in a $25 million apartment, screaming from literally the top of the building to prosecute this man and his cohorts and his crazy ladies that are all around him for plotting and planning a seditious coup and engaging in a seditious conspiracy of sorts, to the point where poor Barbara Starr, the Pentagon reporter from CNN, is on the TV at 7 o'clock this morning. That's when that clip was, 7 o'clock this morning, saying they're freaking out here at the Pentagon. They're freaking out. The White House doesn't know it's getting scary over here. Nobody knows what this man is going to do. Nobody understands what's coming. The military put out statements. They said that they will not, they will not occupy. They will not do, the Insurrection Act. They will not follow an illegal order. They're not down with this. There's no place for the military in politics. Blah, blah, blah. All this is going on. And then on the other end of the spectrum, just so you know, Geraldo, yes, that Geraldo, is sending out hostage videos on his Twitter account.
Last week, I complained about Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, the former Florida congressman who is now the head of the Texas GOP, the Texas Republican Party, saying something like Texas and the other like-minded states should form a union of other states that belong in believe in the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. In essence, Colonel West was saying that there should be, a union aside from the United States of America, which is, of course, our union per the Constitution. So I thought that, frankly, Alan West was sounding crazy. Now, the neighboring state actually won over. In Arizona, Kelly Ward, the GOP chairperson in Arizona, is now saying basically the same thing. She's waiting for President Trump, to cross the Rubicon, which is kind of a crude reference to Julius Caesar when he had the Roman legions, and Rubicon, the river that divided Rome from the rest of the Roman Empire in Europe. So he had to decide, Caesar did, whether to cross the Rubicon. Once he did, then it was civil war, and Julius Caesar essentially became the dictator of Rome. This is absolutely lunatic fringe stuff. Mm-hmm. And the president, in encouraging it, and moreover surrounding himself with some of these fringe characters, and I hate to say it, General Flynn, who I backed 100% in terms of his pardon, is one of those leading the president down this path, this crazy path. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the damn election. Mm-hmm. Now let's just move on from there and stop this ridiculous nonsense that makes everyone look half-baked.
It's like he can't say it on Fox, so he has to do it on the Twitter like a hostage. You know what I mean? Hold up a newspaper, Geraldo, so proof of life. We need to know what day you recorded. These are people that went down this dark road of dictatorship, autocracy, oligarchy, tax cuts for the wealthy, tax cuts for corporations, Donald Trump, separating women and they're breastfeeding babies, Muslim bans, birtherism, you name it. They were all down for the ride. Now all of a sudden they're getting a little freaked out. Oh, you think the military is going to come and just hang out in Ohio? Because that's where Geraldo is. I don't want martial law. I don't know which side they would think I was on, and what if something happened to me? No, now they're all freaked out. Now everybody's freaked out because there's only, a couple of ragtag, motley crew leftover, people left. The only people left in Donald Trump's orbit are lunatic lawyers who filed cases misspelling the state they were filing in. They made mistakes in these lawsuits that I only have an honorary law degree, okay? I never went to law school. Never. I wish I did, but I did not. But you can best believe that if I filed a lawsuit in any state for any reason, it wouldn't have the mistakes that Kraken lady made. I mean, she couldn't spell the word district in the district court. I'm sorry. It's just, who's left? Rudy Giuliani, who's gone nuts. I don't know that he ever wasn't nuts. But Rudy Giuliani, Michael Flynn, and Sidney Powell. This is who. And indicted Steve Bannon, who still has a microphone. And it said, we need 2 special prosecutors, one for the election and one for Hunter Biden. I swear to God, it's so bizarre what's going on.
Clear. Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Here's the indicted Steve Bannon talking about law.
I think there's twofold. I think that we need 2 special prosecutors. One, you need a special prosecutor specifically for the election fraud and voter fraud. Not that this can't get worked out, I think, in President Trump's favor by the 20th, which I think will happen, to close the deal that President Trump won this huge landslide, as you kind of show in your documentary. But deeper, you need a real investigative apparatus with subpoena power, the power to indict, panel a grand jury, unlimited budget to go through these states. That needs to be done by a special prosecutor. My recommendation, it'd be Judge Starr. He was the lead witness today at Senator Johnson's hearing on voter fraud in the Senate. He's got a tremendous reputation, deeply knowledgeable in election law. He was obviously the special prosecutor during Whitewater, and he's the one that brought basically impeachment charges against President Clinton. So this guy is very steeped in what a special prosecutor does.
There were no charges in Whitewater, against President Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton or any Clinton. It just didn't happen. Anyway, he's on the Epic Times. This is another lunatic, fringy thing, okay? This man is sitting there opining about who needs to go to jail when he will go on trial because he is indicted for fraud on the people who listen to this swill. He literally bilked his audience, his own audience, out of money, $1 million that he kept, telling them it was going to go to rebuild the wall. And when he was arrested, he just so happened to be on a Chinese billionaire's yacht. I mean, what's the chance? What are the odds? This is just up is down and black is white, and we're through the looking glass. Slavery is freedom. War is peace. Stupidity is knowledge in this world that they toil in. It is amazing. Amazing. All right, Tim in Indiana.
Oh, yes. Nice job, Randi. I know I'm a little bit off topic here.
Oh, great.
So I apologize.
No, I love when I do, an hour and a half on something, and then someone calls and says, I have absolutely nothing to say about what you just said. I want to talk about toilet paper.
Well, okay, I will say that if they did do the revote in the swing states,
he would lose.
Trump, he probably would, because I think most of his followers would be sick or dead by then. Because they've been they've been going without the masks and stuff. So I agree about that. I guess one of my questions was about, I haven't heard anyone talk about, in England with the vaccinations. They started giving those out sooner than anyone else, I believe, and yet now we're saying that there's a different strain, and I'm just wondering, did the vaccinations help, or did it exacerbate the problem? I mean,
well, no, they've done about 140,000 vaccinations in England so far, so that's the full extent of what's been done. This strain is more contagious. It's not more lethal. And from what Fauci is saying, and from what, the Dr. Ashish Jha, who is an epidemiologist also, they're all saying that while it's more contagious, it's not more deadly, and that this vaccine will work on it.
Okay, that's good. I just wasn't sure, and I had a feeling that you would know if anyone would. Well, to get back on topic real quick, I'll just say that, maybe Trump is digging a tunnel to Moscow, and he's just trying to, because somehow, some way, he's got to get the heck out of this country, and I think he knows that, to avoid prosecution. And how can he do that when you're president? I mean...
Wait, we haven't even seen the pardons yet. Wait till the pardons come. Is he going to pardon himself? Is he going to pardon Rudy? Is he going to pardon his children? Is he going to do a preemptive pardon for Jared? Or does he realize that if he does pardon Jared, let's say, or if he does pardon Rudy, that they no longer would face prosecution because they've been pre-pardoned, so that they could never claim the fifth, right? They could never say, right, I can't answer because it might incriminate me. They've already been pardoned from that crime. So they couldn't invoke the fifth, and maybe they would spill the beans. So maybe Trump doesn't pardon them because he's so selfish. He's thinking, could they hurt me down the road, right?
Right.
So, but if there's anything that he can do, he can pardon himself, and whether or not that's legal, we don't know. We've never seen anything like this. So, while it was being litigated, he'd have a lot of time, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And and he could start his stupid TV network and start billing these people, just like Bannon bilked them out of millions. He could bilk them out of billions of dollars in the middle of a pandemic. Those people will pay $4.99 a month to their Messiah in the middle of a freaking pandemic for disinformation, and then he'll just pass it on to his children, whatever, if he has to flee, right? And they'll send him the checks.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would be probably one of the first times he's ever made a profit, too.
Well, it won't work. I mean, it'll fail, too. Although I will say what I'm noticing is all of these lunatic loyalists are now fleeing Fox News. They don't want to be on Fox News anymore because Donald Trump told them of the plan, and now they're all leaving skid marks out of Fox News into Newsmax. They're all headed to Newsmax.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's scary.
It's unbelievable. We need to pass some sort of law that says that if you're going to do news, you have to, if you're going to brand yourself news for the American people to rely on you as news, you have to meet some basic journalistic standards. The Columbia School of Journalism has basic journalistic standards, right? You have to have fact checkers and ombudsmen. You have to, think about it. These right-wing outlets, the way that they defend themselves in court now is to say to the court, oh, no reasonable person would believe this crap that we peddle, so they can't possibly think we're doing news. And it works. It literally works. Beth in Virginia.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, Beth.
I think we all need a little humor. By the way, I love you, and I love my new long sleeve Randy T-shirt.
Oh yeah, the long sleeve ones are good looking.
Oh man, it's great.
Yeah, I like them too. They came out great.
Yes, they did. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just for a little humor about lunatic lawyers.
Yeah.
Michelle Bachmann has been appointed as the dean of the Pat Robertson School of Government at Regent University.
Yes, and Regent University deserves Michelle Bachmann. They do. And,
Yes,
all those students that pay all this money to guys like Pat Robertson deserve to have a Michelle Bachmann as their dean of government.
Well, I agree with you there.
I swear to God, this woman, she's going to do, reparative therapy. You better not be, hanging out at Regent University in the closet somewhere. You remember her husband? Her husband got in trouble because he's a psychologist, and they believed he was doing reparative therapy, which is just torture for a human to be told everything about you is wrong. Everything.
Clear. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This is for you, Beth.
I was doing election night coverage with David Barton, and that night we knew immediately that this was fraud. And from that night on, I've never been a victim of abuse, like a wife abuse, domestic abuse. I've never been a victim of it, but I felt that night like somebody took a swing at me and that they were continuing to take a swing at me. And every day when I woke up, I had this feeling that I was wounded. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I have felt wounded since election night. And not to the point of being discouraged, but to the point of being abused. And I sense that was Satan who came to kill, steal, and destroy, but that he was physically throwing punches and wounding and abusing.
Oh, for God's sake.
Hey, that is the new dean at the School of Government at Regent University, also known as Pat Robertson's University, okay? Which, by the way, has a 28% graduation rate. Swear to God, 28% graduation rate for the low bargain basement price of $30,000 a year. Oh my God! Some people just love to be scammed. They just love to give their money to snake oil salesmen. I can't believe the cost of the annual cost of going to Regent University is $30,143. I'm getting this from the Department of Education. Okay. And they have an 82% acceptance rate, meaning all comers, anybody can, and 28% graduation rate. Because Michelle Bachmann is going to teach them that Satan is abusing you when Donald Trump loses an election. That's what's really going on. It's not democracy at all. It's Satan. Good luck with that. Brother David.
Where is Dana Carvey's church lady when we need her? Just saying. Happy holidays, sister. Yeah, exactly. Hit it, Pearl. Happy holidays to you and the Howard and the Loretta and the Jessica and Brett and Comrade Sean and the chat room and everybody who's listening. We're almost there.
Almost there.
So close. So close.
We just have a coup to live through. That's all.
Yeah, an unprecedented. But remember, the second half of it can't happen here. They all implode on themselves, and the country somehow holds together. And while that's fictional, we are dealing in something that is so fictional in its reality, quote unquote. I just have to hold on to the fact that there's still more of us, and there still will be more of us in Georgia, and there still will be more of us if they try to do a coup.
Really, Georgia is everything, and I can't stress that enough. Georgia is everything. There's early voting in Georgia. Georgians can vote. Please do. Help yourself. Get to it. Do it. Ossoff, Warnock, cast the ballot. Get it done. Yep. Get her done, everybody.
Warnock our Ossoff.
Right. Warnock your Ossoff.
4 words for you over the entertainment holiday period. Ma Rainey's Black
Oh, you
Bottom.
liked it? I didn't watch it yet. Yeah.
It got electrifying.
Okay, this is how old I am. I actually enjoyed, loved Let Them Talk.
Right? The boat movie with them on the boat and Marilyn, Candy Bergen, and it's great.
Meryl Streep and Candice Bergen. Diane Wiest on a boat.
Talking.
I freaking loved it.
I did too.
No, really, it was very smart for me. I thought it was very smart.
I couldn't agree with you more, sister.
I mean,
well, now you got to.
It's just one of those movies where everybody in the end gets exactly what they deserve.
What they totally deserve.
Yeah.
Which, let us hope all of us get what we deserve in 2021, which is President Pop and Cool on V and a real Senate and Building Back Better. Gorgeous girdles for everyone,
Thank
sister.
you. Merry Christmas to you, David. Happy
Merry
New Year.
Christmas.
Thank you. Jim in New Mexico.
Hi, Randy. Happy holidays to you.
Happy Merry Christmas to you. I'm glad
Quick shout out.
you
Quick
could.
shout out, Randy.
I'm glad Hanukkah is over because that was like just saying Happy Hanukkah was like a super
Yeah,
spreader.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I always kind of happy holidays sounds generic. So, yeah.
No, it's now Christmas. It's Christmas and New Year. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Okay, Randy. Listen, I just want to do a quick quote, shout out, just saying the old phrase that we're both old enough. I'm 61, so we're all old enough to know that phrase. Never let a catastrophe go to waste. And I tell you what, we need to put that on steroids for 2021.
Meaning
we got a lot of work to do.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, just meaning that we got a lot of work to do. I mean, it's climate change. It's an epidemic. It's a depression. It is just
racial
everything.
justice. We have like the big three this year. Okay, we have ending the pandemic / the economy. We have climate change / jobs, and we have racial justice / justice. Okay,
I mean, you bet. I meant to say racial justice too. You got it.
Yeah, and you know, if we don't experience in our lifetimes accountability for all of this death, if we don't experience accountability for threatening a coup, for seditious behavior in this country, if we don't see any accountability in this country, then you could just best believe there will never be accountability in this country for anybody who's well connected, for anybody. You know, it's just, I'm so sorry, but honestly, you know, yes, the economy comes first, and that goes along with the pandemic. And climate change, that also goes along with the economy and job creation. But this social, racial justice, that has to start at the top, meaning you have to hold an orange man, an orange, seditious freak of nature, a criminal, a liability for this country, obviously, a depraved heart murderer, accountable. Or you can never, ever, ever have justice in this country for all. And that's what we're supposed to be working for. That's supposed to be our mission statement as a country. Just saying. All right, Steve in California.
Yeah, Randy. I was looking at they're estimating his debt at $4.2 million. I've got a feeling it's much more than that. With all the things that he's supposedly
$4.2 million? Who's debt?
I believe it was on the TV while I was watching it. It's at $4.2 million. And with all the things that he supposedly bought,
What do you have
money,
what's your cocktail of choice?
Pardon?
What's your cocktail of choice?
Well, I just think he owes a lot more than that. And I'm sure he does. I mean, you know, the man who's got no money, he had to use it all on, you know, he had to borrow it all. He's working on borrowed money with all his, you know, Trump Tower.
Hey,
and,
Steve.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Joe in California.
28 days. And
28 days, baby.
I want to echo your sentiments, though. I think this was really great, the recap you did, or the summary, but the selfishness, they're just too arrogant to save the human race. This is just like they use religion. They're your followers.
Yeah.
I've always thought the Republicans were cheap and stingy, but I mean, anyway, I'm confident that we continue to stay the course. We'll get through this. I hope we're going to have something like the Nuremberg trials. We'll call them the Corona trials. But we need to move forward. with love and respect for each other, because 28 days from now, we're not going to have to be bitter. We're going to be having to rebuild. And I just wanted to shout out to, Senator-elect Secretary of State Alex Padilla, the first Hispanic governor or senator in the state of California. That's pretty great. So we're moving forward.
I neglected to say that the former, he's the current Secretary of State of California, Mr. Secretary Padilla, is going to replace Kamala Harris in the U.S. Senate as chosen by Gavin Newsom, your governor. I think that's an excellent choice. It's a very hopeful choice.
Pio Pico returns.
Hey man, I'm waiting for the Attorney General. That's why it's the last pick. I don't think we'll find. Yeah, it's the last pick because whoever the AG is going to have to appoint a special counsel. Is going to have to convene what you just said. Basically a Nuremberg trial, the Corona trials. It's because at long last, America, on during this Christmas season where, you want to keep Christ in Christmas. Jesus is the reason for the season. Don't you say that? Yes. At long last, America needs to be pro-life. Like, for the living. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll be here on the 4th of January. If a coup ensues, we'll come back. Be safe, be well. Merry Christmas.